Now, for the Tampa Bay Bucs, last season was what's supposed to be this season now, a rebuilding season. However, those plans were derailed by the sudden unretirement of their quarterback. Yes, the 20-year quarterback that was the franchise face of the NFL, Tom Brady. You know, the same Tom Brady that's won 7 Super Bowl rings, including the last one where he won it on the Tampa Bay Bucs home field. Yeah, Super Bowl 55, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, he decided to play one last season, unretire, and hopefully win one last Super Bowl ring, an 8th one. Yeah, that magic 8 ball. But that decision actually turned out to be pretty fatal. Why? Because the Bucs all around in 2022 were very bad. They were awful. Like on offense, they never got right. Like somehow, somewhere, like they just did not look right at all. Tom Brady, it looked like death's door. Father time finally caught up to him. There were just injuries all around. The offensive line was a mess because of the injuries. Like the playoffs prior, it just never gelled together. Defensively, one of the worst in the league. Like even with all those big names there, just not good at all. And yeah, they just never got right. Even with the late season push to win the NFC South, they just got lucky that they won that crappy, that the whole division was crappy. So they won the NFC South with the losing record. And well, they were rewarded for it with a mollywhopping, with an ass whooping by the Dallas Cowboys in prime time on Monday night. So yeah, that game ended up being Tom Brady's last game ever. Yeah, literally going out on a whimper, like for a guy like Brady's stature, like oof. So he ended up retiring for real this time, weeks later. And yeah, here we are with the Tampa Bay Bucs in the season that was supposed to be last year, a rebuilding one. So yeah, they ended their season 8-9. They didn't exactly end on a very high note what they were supposed to do, win one last one for Tom Brady. And now they go into this season, well, basically where they were before Tom Brady. They have to find out which quarterback can be a long-term answer. They basically have two. We'll get into the second one in just a bit. But before we had the second one, we had Kyle Trask, the quarterback that was drafted in the second round in 2021. So now you have to figure out, can he be that guy or is it going to be the other one? So we're going to get to that in a bit. So some of their team needs in this past offseason, when I talked about them, obviously the biggest one was finding that successor to Tom Brady. It certainly was going to be easy for them because, well, they had more than enough red cash. So they're basically in the red more than New Orleans Saints. So it was that bad. They were strapped for cash real damn hard in the offseason. So finding a guy that can lead your team was not going to be easy. Someone to challenge Kyle Trask for the starting spot. So finding Tom Brady's successor was not going to be some easy feat that was going to be like overnight. And then defensively, yeah, there's a lot of needs there, but they had to pick and choose because of the salary cap space. You had to pick and choose between corner or linebacker because those two positions were just not good in 2022, even with those big names. So we'll get into those big names in a bit. And then you had to fix up the interior offensive line because those big names like Ryan Jensen, Donovan Smith, it just was when they got hurt. It's just like the offensive line was a mess. It was like really bad in 2022, and Tom Brady, he suffered as a result. So that also played into a fact that why he didn't do well last year. So looking at their whole offseason as a whole, when aside from, of course, Tom Brady retiring, they had to restructure some contracts like Carlton Davis, Ryan Jensen, Chris Godwin, Vita Vea, just to get under the salary cap. They also had to make a couple of big releases. They had to release Cameron Brate, the tight end, Leonard Fournette, like a key player in that Super Bowl run in 2020. Like they had to let him go. Like rough, like, damn. And then they also released Ryan Suckup, one of their most reliable kickers in the league. Like, wow, that was a little bit of a surprising move, but damn. They also released Donovan Smith as well. He later went on to go sign with the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, wow. All together under the salary cap. But, hey, that's what you got to do after you have made an all-in run. So, They also made a surprising move to fire offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich after the season. So a little odd considering that he was kind of the least of their troubles. And that's just my opinion, at least. But a little bit weird. Maybe he was made as a scapegoat for the many problems that the Tampa Bay Bucks had in 2022. But either way, he was replaced by former Seahawks quarterbacks coach Dave Canales as the new offensive coordinator. So we'll see how that pans out. Looking at some of their free agency and draft moves, they re-signed corner Jamal Dean to a big fat contract, and so did Levante David, the linebacker. Two key pieces in that Super Bowl run. They did lose Sean Murphy-Bunting to the Tennessee Titans, so another key piece from that Super Bowl run gone. So is Mike Edwards, the safety, to the Chiefs. Keanu Neal, another safety, to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They traded away guard Shaq Mason, I don't know why, to the Houston Texans, so another piece of that offensive line is gone. And I don't understand. Like, you really need to protect your quarterback here. So anyway, looking at some of their additions on free agency for as many as they tried to get under the salary cap. Of course, the biggest one that they made was Baker Mayfield. Yeah, really. Baker Mayfield from the LA Rams. So, yeah, that's going to be the quarterback that's competing with Kyle Trask. And, you know, I get it. Like, they can't really do much. Can't really get much quarterback competition because, well, they're under the salary cap. They also got a running back by the name of Chase Edmonds from the Denver Broncos. They did replace Ryan Suckup with Chase McLaughlin from the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, McLaughlin was actually decent when Rodrigo Blankenship got hurt. Safety Ryan Neal from the Seattle Seahawks. So, yeah, I'd say it's okay. These was okay for agency pickups. The draft class. Defensive tackle Khalija Cansey from Pittsburgh. So, an interior defensive lineman to potentially help out a pass rush that was not good in 2022 with all the injuries. Guard Cody Mauch from North Dakota State. Maybe as a move to counteract trading away Shaq Mason. So now I'm not as mad about it. Edge rusher Yeye Diaby from Louisville. And then receiver Trey Palmer from Nebraska. A little interesting. Maybe he's just a reserve receiver to replace Scotty Miller. Oh yeah, they let Scotty Miller go to the I think it was the Falcons. Yeah. So anyway, looking at the Bucs offseason, obviously not an easy one to take in if you're a Bucs fan, especially considering all that has happened in the last couple of years with Tom Brady and winning a Super Bowl. So yeah, not an easy one to take in. You're basically back where you were. And like I said, replacing Tom Brady is obviously not going to be easy. This quarterback competition that's going to be taking place is going to continue along for the whole 9 yards, pretty much up until the regular season. So we're going to see if it's going to be Baker Mayfield or is it going to be Kyle Trask. So far, there hasn't really been a definitive answer because, yeah, it's like, we'll see how it goes. And then the defense is obviously going to take an even bigger dip in 2023 because, well, the salary cap was a large part of it in why they couldn't keep their core together. Like all the names that I literally just blurted out. But still, even with all those players there, it's like they just really struggled last year. Like they were like Murphy Bunting, and then you also had Jamal Dean. They were struggling really, really bad against even the worst quarterbacks out there. Like, did you I always point to this game out, but look at the Week 14 game against the 49ers. Like, it's a 7th round quarterback. Like, they did not look good. And then, of course, Week 15 against the Cincinnati Bengals, you had most of your defensive starters back. And then you did bad. You did really bad in that game. So this defense, with all those good players that struggled last year, there's even less talent on that defense. They're going to struggle even harder than they did last year. So looking at some of your key potential games of 2023, you look at Week 1 against the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. Whoever's going to be a starting quarterback is going to have a tall task. Sure, you're playing Kirk Cousins in the Minnesota Vikings, but you can't really look down upon whether how good or bad that like Vikings defense is going to be, or how good or bad Kirk Cousins is going to play, because they can still let you up. They can still let you up because how Kirk Cousins and the Vikings can be against inferior teams. And then the real test soon starts to begin with a home slate that consists of potentially the new and improved Chicago Bears, and then the reigning NFC champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think the Philadelphia Eagles is on a primetime night, Monday night. Oh, ouch. Yeah, that's not going to be good. And then week 4, you have your first division game against the New Orleans Saints. So, yeah, another tall task forever if it's going to be Kyle Trask or Baker Mayfield. So, they got to be ready for that. So, who's going to be that starting quarterback? That's probably the biggest question of all that I have here, and probably the only one. Nothing else matters, to be honest with you, until we figure out who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Tampa Bay Bucs going into a rebuilding season. Yes, it doesn't matter. Like, if the talent is there defensively, sure, you still have receivers like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, whoever's there. It doesn't matter until you figure out the quarterback spot. Is it going to be Baker Mayfield? He provides you experience, but not a lot of good experience, though. If you go with Kyle Trask, you have to answer the questions, what can he provide you? Because he didn't start any games yet. So you walk into that unknown. So for the Bucs, they're going into a long couple of weeks here with training camp and the preseason. So it's still going to be a long battle until we reach to September, when we figure out who's going to be that starting quarterback, Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. But either way, the Bucs faced a lot of roster turnaround, and it all started with Tom Brady retiring for good. At least he is, right? So it was a matter of time, I don't say that's a bad thing, but it's just, what did they say it? Father time always comes around, like what Becky Lynch always says, but I don't like say it when Becky Lynch says, the man comes around, pal. But, once Father time did come around, dominoes started to fall. You saw releases left and right to get under the salary cap. Players start to leave via free agency, especially considering that the Bucs had the league's worst salary cap situation. Like, I think it was at the time, negative $55 million. That's even worse than the Saints. Ugh. So, there's still some talent from that Super Bowl roster that could still salvage a couple wins. But this drop-off from Brady to whoever's going to be the quarterback, I feel like it's going to be felt heavily. It's really going to be felt heavily. And the Bucs are going to find themselves back to where they were before they got Tom Brady. So, I feel like the drop-off is going to be massive. 5-12. I'm not going to slice it. I'm not going to slice it. I know it's harsh, but it's just kind of reality. Maybe they go that way to, maybe if the quarterback's not there on the team right now, maybe that's where they go for next year. But either way, at least the Bucs do have a Super Bowl, but it's just like, yeah, sorry Tampa. The glory days are over, and 2023 is going to be the start of that.